Welcome to the Fantasy Source Football Podcast. My name is David A. Arnott, sitting here with Bill Bender. And let's start off this week's conversation with a topic that's near and dear to your heart, what you've been referring to as the Favre Bowl.
Yeah, Favre Bowl 3 is this Sunday night, and I'm already excited for it. I mean, as a Packers fan, it's hard to watch that game, and it's hard to watch Brett Favre on the other sideline. And it's going to be even harder when you see Randy Moss on the field, considering what Randy Moss has done in the past against the Packers. 12 touchdowns in 13 career games, and that's not counting the moon and the goalpost from the playoff game. He just terrorizes the Packers. I think this is going to be an outstanding game, and fantasy owners are going to enjoy it because a lot of guys are going to have a lot of big games.
Now, do you think that we have any answers after watching Favre and Moss playing together? Do you think we have any answers about whether or not they're going to be able to effectively use Moss? Because that was the main concern I had, at least, is that Favre has a little bit of declining arm strength. He had that bicep injury. And Randy Moss, the reason why he was let go by the Patriots is because ostensibly they felt like he wasn't quite the deep threat he used to be, and they weren't willing to put up with him anymore because of that.
Well, I think that goes out the window at least this week because we know how motivated Favre is to, take it to Ted Thompson one more time at Lambeau Field, etc. And Randy Moss is one of those guys. He shows up sometimes, he doesn't sometimes. In this game, he's going to show up. And I think, if you look what Favre did against the Packers last year, 257 yards a game, 7 touchdowns, no interceptions. That was the best I'd seen him in maybe 5 years, the way he was playing. And on the other side, Aaron Rodgers, another guy that, he had 300-plus yards against him. He played really well. That Packers defense has been beat up. The offense still lacks a running game. But I think they're going to come out and sling it. This is going to be a game that, if you're a Packers fan, Vikings fan, even a football fan, you might be telling your kids about in 15 years.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, everything I've read and heard about him is that he's got that cocky streak to him, too, and wants to show Favre, look, I sat behind you for X number of years, X number of games, when I clearly could have started. I mean, he's got some motivation there himself. Let's talk about a quarterback who made his pro debut last weekend. And, you say he was pretty good. I say, he looked like he was running scared a lot of the time, which is totally understandable for someone facing the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's Colt McCoy. Now, based on what we saw, I've kind of foreshadowed what I think you're going to say. Do you think that the Browns are going to be giving him more playing time moving forward?
I think they should because, you look at his numbers, 23 of 33, 281 yards, obviously a couple mistakes against the Steelers, but what rookie quarterback isn't going to make a couple mistakes against the Steelers? Look what they did to Josh Freeman a couple weeks ago. I think Colt McCoy is the right choice for the Browns because you groom him, you make him the starter. You don't mess around with Jake Delhomme. You're not going to mess around with Seneca Wallace. I'm sorry, those guys aren't the answer. And as I know a lot of Browns fans from back where I'm from, and they're begging for a quarterback. They've been begging for it since Tim Couch was there. And, he goes down to New Orleans this week. Another tough matchup, but why not baptize him now? And I think for fantasy owners, the most important thing is that Colt McCoy, not so much his own value, but he maintains Peyton Hillis's value. He adds to Ben Watson's value, and that's what fantasy owners need from him moving forward, more than his value himself.
I tend to come off thinking that McCoy should sit the year, basically, that you're not really learning anything if you're just scared and in the pocket and need to get out of the pocket at every moment. The Steelers were ahead. Basically, it wasn't exactly the kind of pressure cooker game you really want to judge someone on, and he didn't exactly acquit himself exceptionally well. You got to remember that their first score, the reason why the Browns were even in the game early on, was because of a 65-yard interception return. I agree with you on the Peyton Hillis thing. I think that if you're stuck playing Colt McCoy at this point, you've got much larger problems. There are probably better options on the waiver wire, especially against a blitz-heavy team like the Saints. And I would say also that if you're worried about his receivers, Josh Cribbs and Muhammad Massaquoi going out of last games thanks to Mr. James Harrison, and I do say Mr. because I'm scared of him even where I am now. I think that there's plenty of reason to be worried about playing him, even in the deepest of leagues that require 2 quarterbacks or things like that.
You're not playing Colt McCoy yet, but then again, we had this discussion about Max Hall a couple weeks ago, and look what he does. He goes out and beats the Saints, not playing well, but he beats the Saints. I think Colt McCoy's a winner, and that's a term that my uncle, who's a high school coach, would say about him. He's a winner. He won in college. He has the capability. Cleveland's not the easiest place to play, but Colt McCoy knows how to win, knows how to do things, knows how to, he had 22 22 yards rushing. He knows how to escape. He's going to be better than you guys think.
I mean, if you're willing to give me the last word on this, I would say that he was a winner in college because he was on a top 5 college football team. I mean, is Greg McElroy a winner, or John Parker Wilson a winner, even though they're probably going to be 5th or 6th round picks?
McElroy's a winner. I like having a winner. Like Phillip Rivers, a winner in college. Aaron Rodgers, a winner at Cal, NC State. Not the best programs. You look what they do at the next level. They're winning ball games, and that's one thing I look at.
Okay, so let's talk about who you got guys you think might be under the radar or might be good buy low candidates moving into this upcoming week. I see you have written down Matt Cassel.
I think he's an absolute great choice as a buy low candidate, a guy that you plug in there this week if you don't have Peyton Manning or Matt Schaub. You look at Matt Cassel's upcoming schedule, he faces 3 teams, Jacksonville, Buffalo, Oakland. Those teams have combined to allow 36 touchdown passes. So, I mean, it's going to be there for him. He's going to throw it around this week. He did well last week. And as long as he gets more comfortable in Charlie Weiss's system, there you go.
So if you've got like a 10, 11, 12 best quarterback in the league, let's say you're starting someone who's really disappointing this year, like maybe Schaub or Orton in those lines. Like you've got a guy who's not the top 7 quarterback. If you see Matt Cassel available, would you say start him ahead of him, or is he more of just a replacement for someone that you got someone who's hurt?
Well, if it's an on-the-line guy like Matt Ryan, I might take a chance on Matt Cassel this week, given Matt Ryan's matchup with the Bengals. And another guy, not just Cassel, that might be a sneaky pickup this week. Cassel's only owned in 24% of Yahoo leagues, by the way, so go get him. And then Matthew Stafford's another guy. He's going to come out of the bye week. He's going to be starting. It looks like he's finally healthy, and he'll be up against Washington's wretched pass defense. But that'll be a conversation for next week. Always think ahead, yeah.
Okay, so what about, I see you also have written down the 49ers as buy low candidates, all the 49ers?
I think in general, yeah, let's start with the defense this week against Carolina across the street, that there's a game that maybe 25 people will be with, including my boss, George Winkler, who did have wisdom teeth surgery today, so he'll need those pain medication maybe to get through that game. But, a couple of the Niners, I think they're starting to they have a favorable schedule. They got Carolina, Denver, and London, then they come out of the bye week with St. Louis, Tampa Bay, and Arizona. So there could be some games for Vernon Davis there, Frank Gore, and you've seen Michael Crabtree improve on a week-to-week basis. Maybe he finally jumps up into that wide receiver 1 category.
What about Alex Smith? Do you think that Singletary et al. Will let him actually run a spread offense, which seems to be the case? He always seems to get in an argument on the sideline. Singletary says, okay, go do your thing, and he does his thing, runs a spread offense, and slings it around.
Well, I think this week will be really telling to see what they do, because if Alex Smith can't go out and have some success against the Carolina Panthers, it's going to be a mess still. If they fall to 1-6 and lose this game to the Panthers, kind of this buy low theory may go out the window a little bit, because you don't know what's going to happen with that team going to London and then into that bye week. So, like I said, this week's very telling. Our boss will be there with his pain medication. All will be okay.
All right, Bill. Thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.